Blue Jays MLB.com reporter. He's there throughout spring training. He's at the Rogers Center today for a big celebration of Vladdy Guerrero. It's our pleasure to welcome Keegan Matheson to the program. Keegan, thanks for the time. Appreciate this, sir.
I'm happy to be here, fellas. That bogey juice is sounding good already. This might be a long day. I like the sounds of this bogey juice. Count me in.
Hey, and for those who follow you online, you are a true Nova Scotian, including the partaking.
I do. I have to stay true to my people. I think I tell people that I was born on the mainland and they imported my liver from Cape Breton. So it's good to keep touch with the folks back home. That's how I'll word.
Yeah. First and foremost, you got a busy day today. It's a big day. Tell us what's going on at Rogers Center for the Vladdy Guerrero extension.
Yeah, so 1 o'clock starts the Vladdy press conferences here. Now, he did that on the road when we were initially in New York, and then in Boston is when his first availability happened. But, of course, for Toronto media, for national media coming in for this, that'll start at 1 o'clock Eastern today on Monday. So that will be kind of the final hurrah for this news cycle, I guess, and from there back to baseball. But this will be all of the bells and whistles, everyone dressed nice, everything shiny. This will be the big day for that.
Are you sensing more, either from the organization or the fan base or both, happiness or relief that this is done, Keegan?
Dude, more relief, I think, at this point, because everybody already experienced joy with Vladdy and loves him playing here and wanted him to play here. But how this was drawn out, in part because of how maybe Vladdy handled it and Vladdy's side handled it, in part because of how much of this was reported. I'm a big believer that things should be reported when they have happened or are real. But this was reported about 600 times over 3 months. It was done, it's close, it's done, it's close. That gets old. And if you are a fan who is really invested in this team, that wears you out. Absolutely. So I think relief is a big one here today, and that we can get away from this conversation and no longer be talking about that.
They survived it in the standings. They've gotten off to a decent start here, an AL East that has been pretty dismal from top to bottom, really. So they've survived in the standings. Vladdy, not so much, though, statistically, in terms of his power, at the very least. He's hit okay, but the power hasn't been there. Can you say that there's been a pressure on him, that this has weighed on him when he's sort of hit okay, but no homers?
There has to be pressure. I don't care if you're Vlad Guerrero's son. I don't care if you are one of the best players in this game. You're talking about $500 million. Guys, I get anxious when we're talking about $20. This is $500 million. It's going to wear on you. It's going to happen. I don't care who you are. And Vladdy seems so close. It seems like he's hitting missiles to right center over and over. Just a little bit behind it, trying to drive it the other way. Eventually, maybe tonight, probably tonight, he is going to hit a baseball 460 feet. And I think the floodgates will open pretty quickly. Because with Vladdy, guys, more than any other player in Major League Baseball, he's at his best when he is playing loose and joyful. Over the last few years when we would talk about Vladdy struggling at times, I'd often say that he just needs to show up in a pair of flip-flops at 6:55 p.m. and just let it rip. He's that guy that when he is loose and having fun, that's when he's at his best because he's so naturally gifted. So hopefully this contract gets that out of the way and he can get back to really enjoying this. I think he handled it pretty well, given the circumstances, but it's got to be a relief for him as well that money will never matter again. Not that it did, I think, but this is as good as it gets.
And has this contract weighed heavily on Bo Bichette? Because it's the same problem. If he could, when he figures it out, when Vladdy figures it out, could he tell Bo how to hit the ball over the fence?
Again, it's got to, guys. Imagine if we're sitting at work and the guy next to you suddenly makes $500 million. And you do kind of the same job, maybe at slightly different levels. I'm going to be looking out the corner of my eye and thinking, okay, when's my turn? And Bo is a pro when it comes to this. I've always respected that about him, but it's got to be on your mind. It still does. I don't care how well you can compartmentalize these things. It has to be on your mind a little bit. There's so much money involved. There's so much at stake, even at that age as well. These are still really young guys. So it's got to be there. The sense I get right now is that there hasn't been anything yet on that front. We'll see. But that could be the interesting one come December.
We're with Keegan Matheson, Blue Jays reporter for MLB.com. And Keegan, one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on the show is you get to cover spring training tip to tail.
Okay.
Get out to those backfields and see all these Blue Jays prospects. And there is a significant one who will make his debut here in Vancouver tomorrow after a scorching start to the season. His name is Arjun Nimala. He's a shortstop, a first-round pick from 2 years ago. And for some, the best Blue Jays prospect and one of the top 100 overall prospects in all of baseball. What are Vancouver fans going to see in this young man?
This is exciting in particular, guys, because I think you'll get him for a while, like probably most of the season. And I was talking to Arjun about this down in spring training, because I don't need to tell you guys or your listeners, but going to a ball game in Vancouver at Nat Bailey is as good as it gets in minor league baseball. Right? These guys have played in front of a lot of crappy crowds in the minors, coming up through high school, college. But in Vancouver is something special. And players who have come through there say it, and I think Arjun's going to experience that fully throughout maybe a full season. What makes him so exciting is the offensive upside as a shortstop. Now, it's one thing to play a good defensive shortstop, and I think he'll play a good one. Not great, but good. But the offensive upside he has, especially from a power perspective, with his build, is so unique for his age, and he can really max out that strength. I think he can be a guy who is hitting 25-plus home runs. He's hit a couple already that were massive. I don't think those parks were rigged for StatCast and all the numbers, but they were huge. And on top of that, guys, just a completely impressive young man. If you had given me that attention and money when I was 19, my God, I would have set some records that were not in the right direction. But Arjun is so polished, so aware of what's going on, and that's why they've trusted him to go to Vancouver. Last year, they challenged him with Dunedin. Didn't go well, had to take a step back and then rebound. But that's why they have challenged him again with Vancouver, because he's a person who can handle it, I think, as much as a player. But, man, the offensive tools are pretty exciting when he gets going. That power can be pretty special.
Because he's so young, though, I mean, his stats right now are like, oh, he's going to be in Double-A in 2 weeks. But because he's a teenager, I mean, do they just want to steep him in a pretty safe environment here in Vancouver for the year, do you think?
Yeah, let him hunker down for most of the year at least. If this goes really well, guys, maybe I can see some Double-A by the end of the season. But I think he's going to be in Vancouver for a good chunk. Given his age, that high A when you're jumping up to Double-A is when you start to see pitchers who have some sort of clue of where their stuff is going. You're already going to see guys who are throwing 99, 100 or have incredible sliders. But once you make the jump from Vancouver up to New Hampshire, that's when guys start to control it. Double-A is where you see a lot of those best pitching prospects, because Triple-A is more just, okay, prove yourself. Okay, you can get a curveball. Bye, guys. Go to the big leagues. Double-A is where a lot of that key development happens. So I think Nimala will be in Vancouver for a good chunk. And, man, that's a win for Vancouver fans, too. Being able to watch him every day for a few months is pretty special.
And if he does have a rival atop the Blue Jays prospect list, Keegan, it's a right-handed pitcher named Trey Savage, who was their first-round pick last year and is already dominating down at Dunedin. You suspect we'll see him and have the two best Blue Jays prospects here at some point?
Yeah. He'll be there soon, I think. And this is another good example of the other factors that go into where a prospect goes. Trey Savage is way too good to be in Dunedin. He had a rough first outing. He looked great last night or the night before, I believe it was. He's way too good for single-A hitters. But, as you guys know, sometimes if a pitching prospect gets up to Vancouver for April, they end up getting their starts junked around a little bit by rain, by bad weather in the Northwest League. So a guy like Savage, this was as much about just getting his footing underneath him, weather-wise, stability-wise, because he's becoming a pro this year, making his pro debut. Give him another few starts in Dunedin that are even okay. Things warm up a little bit in the Northwest. I think he's up there pretty quickly and up there for a good chunk. He could be in Double-A by the end of this year, too. But Savage is very talented, but also a little old school to him, too. There's some real edge to the way Savage pitches. He wants to beat you, and he wants you to know it, I think, which is pretty fun to watch. And, man, that'll be an exciting time, man. 1-2 up there. It's looking good.
Lastly, Keegan, you seem familiar with it. Alex Anthopoulos used to always say to us, we want our best prospects to touch Vancouver and get a sense of what it's like to play before an expectant audience. You've talked about the crowd size in other minor league parks versus Vancouver. How much do you hear about Vancouver and the Canadians and the development path that some of these Blue Jays go on deal with on a day-to-day basis covering the Blue Jays?
Oh, yeah. A lot of the guys that go through there speak so highly of it. I'm thinking of a few different pitchers who have gone through there, through the minor leagues. Even one example from spring training that jumps out is Peyton Williams, the big first baseman. He spoke so highly of his time in Vancouver and the crowds and people caring. Like really caring and being fans of the team, not just dropping in like you see in some minor league areas, just dropping in to see a top prospect coming through, for example. They're putting up legitimate crowds every other night. And listen, guys, I've been to minor league ballparks where there are 200 people there and it's 5 degrees. And most of those 200 people don't want to be there, or they share a last name with someone on the field, and that's why they're there. But in Vancouver, it's you certainly get that feel more of a local team that is actually drawing a crowd for the team. And to a man, I mean, I've never heard a prospect say a bad word about being in Vancouver. And it's an important thing from Alex Anthopoulos right to this front office, even back through the 90s. I've spoken to Paul Beeston about the same, is getting guys into Canada, helping them realize this is not another planet and your credit card still works here. Uber Eats still works here. It's all cool. You can live here. And I think that helps demystify it a lot because players just absolutely love it.
And to bring this full circle, a guy that maybe is from Nova Scotia would really enjoy a place like Nat Bailey Stadium because
you got to come visit us.
There's some brews there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
For one work day and then one non-work day.
There you go. 2 games.
Hey, well, the Jays are in Seattle in a few weeks here in May. Pop on up, come visit us.
I
Keegan.
like it.
The big home opener tomorrow at Nat Bailey Stadium, 7:05 first pitch against the Eugene Emeralds. They'll have a fireworks night. They're here all week. It's another Friday nooner at 1:05. And you can end the week with a White Spot Family Fun Sunday. Tickets, 604-872-5232, or check out CanadiansBaseball.com. Keegan, awesome stuff here.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for the time here. Have a great day.
Anytime, fellas. Enjoyed it. Thank you.